What's up, YouTube? What's up, Xtreme Gainz family? I'm Chuck. This is Xtreme Gainz. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today is Sunday, May 15th, 2022, and this is the AMC, GME, and SPY Algo Exposed daily update and preparation video for tomorrow and beyond. I hope you had a great weekend and had a chance to enjoy yourselves and or relax. I'm going to go over all the regulars that I go over, my snake algos for AMC, GME, and SPY, as well as some macro comparatives. So, with that said, let's dig in. On your screen is AMC and my micro intraday snake algo on Friday's price action. Friday, AMC closed the week up 5.45%. Up an additional 0.76% in after hours at, I believe, 11.90. Yep, 11.90 per share. On your screen is the intraday micro snake algo that we got to place and watch fulfill. It was a two-piece for Friday. One diversion. There was a small diversion at the end of the day here with the move up, but we had it here, just didn't really realize that, I guess, in the moment. But it was a two-piece. And it was straight up, two-piece. Just a level change on the previous day for that clip. So that's what it looked like intraday. We got to watch that both in the premium private stream in the morning and then at Beer 30 weekly wind down on Friday. It did the same for SPY. It was just as accurate on SPY. So the micro intradays are still landing dead on. The intra-week snakes, without going into an hour-long explanation, I'm looking at two of them, considering the previous snakes diversion happened at completed fulfillment of the previous snake and expiration of it. I believe this was a skip in the algo, a skipped beat, and then the algo picked back up. So I went ahead and clipped according to that. And here are the two. So it would be the day of and the day prior to. And I put them on here in this manner. I do have projection and fulfillment with the one-day overlap being Friday out of both of them. And this is what they are projecting going into tomorrow and then beyond. And that is if fulfillment would continue in this manner with them placed in this placement. This is the initial placement. I don't see much that I'd be able to change from an initial placement standpoint right now, but if that were to happen, keep that in mind moving forward. Now, I did look at potentially one other scenario in the clipping of the snakes, and I talked to my premium about it, and that would be if this would be a full-on reversal that would translate to macro. The previous snake from the day prior to would have to be mirrored. And if that were mirrored to then accomplish the move to the upside and continuation to upside, being that that would be interpreted as the reversal, then I would be looking for it to potentially follow the initial intra-week snake here and then go continuation to upside past that. So if that were all to happen tomorrow, and I don't think it would, if it did, it would happen tomorrow afternoon. We would blow up past that. But if it were to happen prior to tomorrow afternoon and or tomorrow afternoon, it doesn't matter, just tomorrow, then I would be looking at potentially that concept being fulfilled. So that is something that I am looking for. I'm not putting my hat on the hook yet when it comes to that, but it is something that I am potentially considering when it comes to the intra weeks. Had this happen in the previous run-up that we had in the middle of what looks like the macro double-double, and it was something similar. So I am keeping an eye on it from that perspective. If we were to outrun the yellow one here to the upside and continue to the upside, that is a scenario that I would be looking at, and only then. Obviously, if I get fulfillment out of these or out of one of these, then it's good to go, and I don't even have to think about it outside of that. So that is the micro intraday and the intra week on AMC that I am looking at going into tomorrow and potentially the rest of this week. The macro comparative for AMC, as you all know, is from the macro descending wedge back here prior to the January 2021 run-up, and it's the macro double-double. And I've had it on here, been tracking it every day, literally since I've been on the channel. And in the position that we have most recently been tracking it in since way back here, it projected the move down from the $35 down into where we're at now with the couple inverted mirrorings that we had talked about in previous videos. For context, please go back to them. I'm only bringing this up because I know there's a lot of new people here right now that have been coming to the channel recently. And if you've missed that, you may want to go back. If you don't give a shit, just know that it's been tracked accordingly ahead of time, and it has fulfilled in that manner. So leaving it at that, looking at this macro comparative and where price action is, I believe at this point there's literally only one place to put this for the time being, unless there's some sort of an extension that ends up happening on this. But that's how I'm looking at it right now. You can see that we have the integrity of the previous projection and fulfillment still intact throughout the previous bottom, the movements of, not price levels, but the movements of the inverted mirrorings that I'm referring to, the move up to 35, which was projected and fulfilled, the move down in, and then here to this bottom. Now, if it were to continue to follow this in this placement in this manner, it does look like we start to get a pretty good move up this week. It looks and appears to me, and I don't use this for exact time, but to give myself, because it is almost candle for candle when looking at the 4 hour, but this is showing the 18th. So it's looking like, I mean, if we get this, obviously this fulfillment out of it here the first part of the week, then I'll start getting a little more in tune, more excited, I guess, with the potential for this to make that big move to the upside and replicate potentially that January move up. However, I have been looking also at an alternative bottom that I had talked to you all about previously, and this is that alternative bottom, and I want to put them both here so you can see the difference between the two of them. Obviously, that extends the move up if it were to continue to fulfill in that manner, and it is following it thus far. It continues to grind up in this ascending channel prior to getting its first parabolic move, and it appears from this one to be not until not this coming, but the following week before we would see something like that if it were to continue to follow this. However, I've also just started looking at a potential alternate placement of that alternate bottom in the event that this may get extended somehow, or they may end up dropping this down out of here. And the only other way right now that I can see this is like that. I went ahead and clipped this. This is inverted. It's a suppression of this movement, inverted and mirrored up here. And the fulfillment, the previous projection and fulfillment from this is intact. And then you can see, obviously, if we were to reject off of the 12, call it 1250 area, and then start a grind down, back down to the macro descending third, then that is something that I would definitely be looking at. I want to keep that on my map here for obvious reasons. What I try to do is prepare for everything, so I'm surprised by nothing. So if this does not, and it would not surprise me a bit if this does not run up out of here, all of this tracking, all of these fulfillment from this macro comparative, even with the inverted mirrorings that I called out prior to happening and gave reasoning for, it would not surprise me in the least bit if somehow, some way, something happened that this thing would end up rejecting off of that 1250 area and then heading back down for another retest of that macro descending third at a minimum. So that is what I am looking at in its entirety with the macro comparatives and with AMC. GME, the current snake for GME is the blue that projected the 35-ish% move to the upside last week, dead on. The continued projection from it would be obviously downside here the first few days into this week, and then obviously continuation if it were to fulfill in that manner accordingly. However, it is due for a diversion. GME's on a different schedule than AMC's clipping of its intraday snake or intra-week snakes. So it has projected and fulfilled. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Tomorrow would be its 5th day. So if it fulfilled this in some manner into tomorrow, like so, and then potentially diverted or would be in anticipation of a diversion going into Tuesday, then that would be something I'd be looking for due to the number of days that it has already projected and fulfilled, and that being normal. However, it has, and I have had previous ones fulfill longer, so if it's going to keep fulfilling, then it will, and we'll have it here. And then the macro comparative that I've been looking at is from the previous bottom over here in this giant macro double that GME is in or potentially in, and that I had framed out from way back before we even got down into the bottom of it. And I clipped that exact bottom and brought it over here. And there it is. Projection and fulfillment previously leading up, the move to the upside projected and fulfilled. Like that. And then obviously the indication from this as a projection moving forward would be downside, a rejection and downside. But if you zoom out, it does look like the next few weeks, if it were to continue, or the next couple weeks, if it were to continue following this, it would be an upside overall macro move, followed by then the pullback if it were to continue to fulfill. And that's a long way off. Again, I'm looking a little further ahead than I like to and that I usually do, but I am getting projection and fulfillment out of this. So until it doesn't, I'm going to keep looking at it. So that's what I'm looking at with GME. Excuse me. SPY. The macro comparative from SPY is from the 08-09 correction and crash. It's the red, and it's what I've called the extended version. And it has given projection and fulfillment for a long time now. And I talked about when it was down in here that it would need to make a hard upside move and get back in line somehow with this. Now, this is not candle for candle, and it never has been, but it would need to get back up here at a level that it would start fulfilling this macro comparative again, and then obviously put this round top structure like pattern in. And look what happened Thursday and Friday. Literally like on a beeline, this thing got a hell of a bounce off the 385 and then went heavy to the upside, and now it is back in range, just like I had talked about, to potentially continue to fulfill this thing in that manner. So that's what I'm looking at from it, would be continued consolidation in an ascending channel, somewhat like this shows, and to put this formation in within the next couple weeks. However, the current snake that I had on here, I had in this position, and I want to pull this down because I want to show you all something with this. I've had it in this position for weeks now, a couple weeks, and it has projected and fulfilled almost perfectly. I talked to you last week, towards the end of the week, about Thursday, Friday, ending the day in this midline consolidation here that this was showing, and it has ran up past that to the upside without any kind of consolidation, just a straight move to the upside. Now, that does not mean in this position that it's off the table yet, because this could reject off this macro descending third and head back downside here. And then it would fulfill that, and I'd never bat an eye at it moving forward in hindsight. However, what I want to look at is, and I want to show you, is this. The previous snake fulfilled down into here. Then this was clipped. And I had talked to you a while back about putting this in a little bit of an extended version. And look what we get when we do that now. There's the extended pull on that intra-week snake. And check this out. Projection, fulfillment, 2 weeks, same amount of time that it had in the previous position. So nothing gained, nothing lost at this point. However, if price action were to continue upside, consolidate up top above the 401, and then reject somewhere around the 412, and then start heading back downside, I'm going to be continuously using this current snake, because I do not believe at that point it belongs down here where I had it with the overextended overlap. I believe this is the correct position of the snake, and obviously it will be if it continues to fulfill in that manner. So that's what I'm looking at with the intra-week snake for SPY. Then there's this macro comparative from that I talked briefly to you all last week, this yellow here, briefly to you all last week about, and it's from the 09 bottom to the 2019 top before the crash. So from crash to crash. And then if you put it back here and with an overlap, but you put it back here at the 2020 crash, the 2019 top, to where we're at now, this would show correction, then crash up here after a heavy bounce and continuation to upside to all-time highs. Now, I said to you all in last week's video when I briefly presented this that if we were to get a bounce and a continuation to upside, I was doing that as a preface to be able to start covering this a little bit, just in case, to be able to, again, in an attempt to stay out in front of everything and be prepared for everything, look at this on these videos. So because of the bounce that we received from the 385 on Thursday and Friday, and we are getting close to being in that range, I do want to start looking at this, because if price action were to continue in an upside manner, then I want to have that covered. So obviously that is what that would be projecting moving forward, if that is something that would be happening right now. Like I said in the video or in the live stream with y'all, I think it would be crazier for that to happen than for this to just finish off the crash that I think everybody and their brothers anticipating potentially happening. But this is a crazy market, so I would rather be prepared than not. So that's what I'm looking at with SPY in its entirety, AMC and GME, leading into tomorrow and this week. And that is everything I have for this video. I thank you if you made it to the end of the video. Do y'all's thing like you always do. I greatly appreciate it. Quick reminder, I will be live here tomorrow morning here on the YouTube channel and on Twitch starting at 9 a.m. from market open to market close. I hope to see you all then. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will talk to you all tomorrow morning. Later.